Hey everybody, it's Audra May, and I'm here recording today because I wanted to take some time to respond to some of the feedback that we received in our survey. So first of all, thank you for responding to that. We really took into account everything that was said, the good, the bad, and we wanted to make sure that we took an opportunity to respond to some of them because there were some common themes. And so I'm going to take a little time today, maybe 15 or 20 minutes. You should set aside to hear all of it, to just respond and give you our feedback on your feedback. First of all, there were three main themes. The first one was vision. Where are we going? What are we doing? Some of you felt like we really haven't been clear about that. The second one was growth and culture, and that's kind of self-explanatory. We'll talk about that. And the third main one was athletics. Now, Coach Thomas Loria, our AD, is going to have an athletics town hall, and he's been sending out some emails with some links so that you can, put your information in there and ask some questions so that he can be prepared for that during the town hall. So he's going to handle those separately. I'm not going to cover those today. We're going to stick with vision, growth and culture, and then just some miscellaneous things. All right, let's talk about vision. We had some comments that there just was a lack of it. And so one of my favorite verses is in Proverbs, and it talks about, without a vision, the people perish. And to me, what that says is if we don't know where we're going, there's not a lot of clarity. And in my opinion, clarity brings unity. And so one of the reasons I'm recording today is because I want us to have clarity so that we can have unity. So let's talk a little bit about our vision. It hasn't changed. Our vision is still the same. We are here to prepare college-worthy character witnesses for Christ. Our motto is "Here am I, send me," and that is still the basis from which we operate. Our conversations are about, are we making sure that we're discipling our children? Are we coming alongside our parents? And how are they doing once they get to college and out into the community? So that is still our main goal. I think where I'm hearing where there seems to be a lack of transparency is really around, what's max capacity? How big are we going to get? As we're talking about that, that's kind of twofold. Number one, what is max capacity? Well, because of the university model and the way that we can use our facility, there's a gap in what is that number. We think it's somewhere between 900 and 1,000. Now, I think the question is, are we trying to get that big? And the answer is no. We don't have a number that we're trying to hit. We do know about how many students we can hold if we do this or that with the schedule. But as far as max capacity, we're not there yet. And we're not sure we want to be there. And I'll talk about that here in a minute. There were some statements about, we seem to be numbers driven. Currently we have just under 700 students, and I can tell you that if we wanted to be close to 900, we could be. There's enough interest in what we're doing here that we could be close to 1,000, I think. But we're not, and there's a reason we're not, and it's because we're not numbers driven. There are other things going on here, and so what we are driven to do is disciple our students. And so as we sort through all of the number of applications that come through, what we're looking for is a fit. Do you agree with and live by our statement of faith? Are you active in a church? Are you actively discipling your student? Does your student have a relationship with Jesus Christ? So we still do those things as we're looking at and talking to new families and new students. And I'll give you more information about that as we move on. I guess the last thing I want to say about numbers is that I can tell you specifically as it relates to athletics, we've kind of been trying to avoid growing because the bigger we get, the further we move up in the food chain into being more competitive. And so we're really trying to hold off and stay in that 4A area, and it just didn't happen. We're moving up into 5A, which I know Thomas will talk about, but there are some disadvantages about being too big too fast. And even though we're trying to pull back the reins on some of that, the growth is just coming. And I personally believe if you're not growing, you're dying. That's the opposite of growing. So growing is a good thing, but we understand, we just want you to know we hear you clearly, that you're nervous about how fast we're growing. And so we just want to give you some assurances that we are keeping our fingers on the pulse of that. Okay, let's talk about growth and culture because it kind of tied with vision. Let's go back to the beginning of the school year in August of 2023. If you'll remember in my vision casting, that first video that came out, I talked about how we were going to pause for our mid-year acceptances. In a university model school, we usually take people in August and we take people in January. Those are the two times. We said this past August that we were going to pause there, not accept new students in January. Normally during that time period, we can take in anywhere from 30 to 50 new students. So we said we're not going to do that. We're just going to take a pause. And so during that time, what we did was just evaluate our current culture. We started noticing some negative trends last year, and we really wanted to dial in and focus on that and see if we could make a course correction in our middle and high school. And so over this past year, there's been a removal of a good 30 students or so, and even some of their families, because we just didn't feel like they were a fit. And when we say that they weren't a fit, we understand there are going to be problems. I mean, we're all sinners, and our kids are learning. They're going to make mistakes. So we're trying to balance grace and discipline, and bring that together. But really, what we're looking for is your family willing to come alongside us, and we're operating from the same set of standards, which are biblical standards, and that's how we want to move forward to solve problems. If we can't come to an agreement in that, then that's where we have to part ways, and that's what we've done. So over this past year, we've had a removal of about 30 different students. Then in the meantime, we've added an assistant principal, Cassandra Yearwood, and Coach O as the Dean of Students. And so they've been out trying to sort of regain the trust of our students, build relationships so that we can have, conversations, be they difficult or not, and really encourage the growth and the correction of our culture. And then I guess the last thing I want to say as it relates to that is, and what we talked about at the beginning of the year in August, was that we were going to close the application deadline in April. Now in the past, we've allowed that to be open all the way into July. This year we said there will be no enrollment after April 1st. That deadline has come and gone, and so I can tell you that the majority of high school students that come in during the summer, and so we realize that we're going to lose some of those students, probably another 30 to 50 students there. All right, so let's continue. As part of growth in culture, you had concerns about our admissions process, and I've talked a little bit about that, just touched a little bit on that, but I want to go into what is the admissions process. Now, some of you are probably clear on it because you just came through it the past year, but during the admissions process, what we do is we meet families at our informational meetings. That's required. As they turn in their applications, we set up family interviews. Those are required. We have more than one person that sits in on those interviews, and that's usually from our admin team or a veteran teacher. Once the family is interviewed, they are required to take a placement test, and then we have a group of people, somewhere between 5 and 7, that come together and they discuss each individual candidate. We're asking questions about, are they academically capable? But we're also asking questions about whether or not we feel that they're involved in their church, that they're going to discipline the way that we discipline, and will they be a good fit for our community? In the past few years, our denial rate has gone from about 8%, probably in or around and before 2020, to this year, we're close to 30% as a denial rate. And so as we're bringing in more students, we're also denying more, but we're denying a lot more. It's not just that we're denying more students because we have more applicants. The rate that we're denying them is at close to 30%. So, for example, right now we have 87 new students that are coming in. We've declined 27 of those applicants that have come in, and we're sitting right at about 30% denial rate. So we do want you to know that we're not just accepting everyone, that there is a process that goes into this, and it's more rigorous than it's ever been. So we're not going to be able to catch everything or everyone that comes through here and be perfect at it, but we do pray. We try to use discernment as we're talking with them, and we try to bring every single applicant before multiple people before we make a decision on them. So I just want to kind of take a moment to add up what I've said here. Just this past year, we will have either removed, denied, or not allowed anywhere between 90 to 150 students. The financial impact of that is anywhere from $500,000 to $1.5 million in tuition money that we could have brought in but didn't, because we wanted them to be a fit more than we wanted just another student on our campus. And so I really want you to understand that there is a process, that we are very genuine, that we care very much about the families and the students that we're bringing onto this campus. And so I hope this helps to alleviate any concerns about whether or not we're just trying to hit a number. That's not at all what we're doing. So as I'm talking about hitting those numbers, I want to add that one of the other things that came up in the survey was how we looked like we, quote, wanted to be like other schools. I can honestly tell you, we just never talk about other schools, good, bad, or indifferent. When we sit down to talk about our vision for the year, we're looking at what is our theme, what does God want us to work on, are we impacting our students in the way that we want, how do we know that, what are those results, and how do we go about moving forward? We have no interest whatsoever in being like any other school here in this area or anywhere else, mainly because we're just a different model in general. The university model is different than any of the other schools in this area. What I can tell you is that we have lots of kids and families coming from other schools to ours and not the other way around. So we don't have any motivation to do what other schools are doing when we feel like what we're doing is working. I want to touch just a little bit on another comment that said that it felt like we were yanking kids around so that we could get numbers in as we toyed around with their schedules. We are moving schedules around, particularly for our 10th graders, to accommodate our current students, not just the new students coming in. The number of new students coming in are mostly in elementary, about 60% in elementary, about 19% in middle school, and about 20% in high school. But that growth, which is very healthy, is moving up through our grades, okay? So if we're bringing in all these elementary students, they're going to become middle school students, and then they're going to become high school students. So as we're looking at our students in the 10th grade and in high school, we are running out of classrooms on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays because the bulk of our school is here. We're trying to keep our class sizes low, so we want to make sure that our student-teacher ratios are still at a manageable point. But also we're looking at trying to help our students balance their workloads on the days that they're not in class. And we've had great results with our 11th and 12th grade classes and the way that they've matured through that process of going to school 5 days. That is the way of a college or university. And through the university model, we have a lot of flexibility with our schedule, meaning with our building as well. And so we really believe that moving our 10th graders to the 5-day will be in the best interest of them as students and just as people in general. And we think that you as a family will come to love it. So just be patient with us there. We're not moving these schedules around for any other reason than to accommodate our incoming 10th graders. That's really where that motivation lies. All right, and then finally, the last thing as it relates to growth and culture is that this year, as we've sat back and tried to really digest what's going on culturally with our school, we are evaluating some of our policies. And we've heard from some of you that there are some policies that maybe don't make sense or don't seem fair. Some of these policies were probably put together in our early stages of when we had a high school. But for example, one of the things that we're looking at is our cell phone policies. I'm just going to tell you, I hate those things. I hate the cell phones, and I tell you, our teachers do too. So we're really looking at, are we a healthier campus without them? Not saying that's what we're doing, but that is one of the examples that I can give you as far as, what can help improve our culture, possibly getting rid of the cell phone. So we just want you to know that we did exactly what we said we were going to do. We paused for a moment with our incoming students. We tried to manage and make sure that we were getting our arms around the culture that we have. And we really think that what we've got right now is fairly healthy. So we're working very hard to try to maintain that. All right, let me move into some of the miscellaneous. It's always interesting when we get feedback about the two sides of a coin. If there was a minor theme in the survey, it was more. We want more opportunities, more electives, more sports, more facilities, more classes, more coaches, more men, more. But that can't be done with less people. If it's more that you want, then we need more people. So those two things can't happen at the same time. What we are trying to do is balance those desires with something that is healthy, with healthy growth. And so, if you'll just pray with us, pray for us as we're making decisions about those things. We really are looking at ways to improve Legacy, make us better, give us more opportunities, but a lot of times those opportunities only come with growth. And so just come alongside us and pray for healthy growth, for discernment and wisdom as we try to move forward with this. We had some concerns, gripes, complaints maybe about the weekly email. One of the reasons we do the weekly email is because without it, you would receive all manner of emails from all the different organizations your child's involved in, your teachers, your coaches. The weekly email puts everything that's going on at the school in one place. Now, what I will tell you is that as we're moving to Blackbaud for next year, we think the weekly email can go away and that you will get those announcements and those words of upcoming things and schedules, that you will get that in your school Blackbaud system. We're still not quite sure how that works because we're still going through the training process and setting up Blackbaud as we're moving along. But the formatting of that, we think, is going to change. For now, we have the weekly email set up in sections so that if you don't have a high school student, you don't have to read the high school page. It's the one place that you can get concise information all in one place. And we might suggest too that you read it because sometimes that doesn't happen. All right. One other thing was all the things. Where did all the things come from? Where did the car line cover come from? Where did the signs, the directional signs come from? Well, they didn't come from your tuition. The car line cover was put up obviously to keep your children out of the weather and also the staff who are helping to get them in the cars. But that is from 3 years worth of First in Car Line. It was announced earlier this year in one of the weekly emails, but every year Gina Francis has a First in Car Line Facebook raffle, and those people who paid to be First in Car Line sponsored the cover over the car line rail. So that did not come out of your tuition. That came out of the pockets of those who are First in Car Line. So maybe give them a high five and thank them for that car line cover. The new directional signs that you see on our property did not come out of your tuition. Those came straight out of the capital campaign budget that built our new West Wing. A lot of these things just take a lot of time to come together. Supply chain issues and design issues happen along the way. But that didn't come out of anyone's pocket except for those who contributed to the West Wing. As you'll see, there's fencing going up that has taken a long time. Again, supply chain and other things, it's taken a long time to put together, but I think within the next week or two, we will finally have the fencing that goes up. That came out of the annual fund. So if you gave to the annual fund, thank you very much. You should also see the playground in between the two buildings, also from the annual fund, and a lot of the new playground equipment in the back, which you may not see for our middle school and high school students, also from your annual, from those who donated to the annual fund, not out of your tuition. So while we're talking about what your tuition pays for, on your screen now you'll see a pie chart, and that gives you a little bit of information of what exactly your tuition pays for. About 80% of what your tuition pays for has to do with academics, whether it's faculty, staff, payroll, educational supplies like books, curriculum, desks, new tablets, new panels for the classes. About 80% of that is educational. The rest of that is maybe depreciation, some athletics fees, but 80% of what you pay in tuition pays for your child to be educated here. So hopefully this pie chart gives you a good picture of what your tuition pays for. Okay, we're wrapping it up here. I just wanted to give you a couple of updates while I had your attention. As I mentioned earlier, the application deadline has passed, and so we are not allowing any other students in if they didn't get their applications in over the past few months, then they're out of luck. They're going to have to wait until next year. We are processing about another 115 or so applications, so there are a lot of people out there that are interested in Legacy, and we just commit to you to do the very best that we can as we determine, what students and families we allow in. I did want to make you aware that on the west side of our campus, you probably have noticed a lot of tractors and dozers tearing things down over there. That is the Crossing Church. They have had this property for several years now, and I think they're finally ready to move forward with building their facility. So you're going to see a lot of movement going on over there on the west side as they're getting ready to put their church there. Now the property to our east is up for sale. So if you've got an extra $6 to $8 million laying around and you want to buy that land for this school so that we can kind of spread out a little bit, we will be more than happy to sit down and have a conversation with you. Otherwise, we are just praying about whatever goes in next door. Recently, there was a home builder who was going to put some townhomes in. Thankfully, we do have a little bit of control over that. They're going to need an emergency access entry, and we declined that. So we've prevented, at least for now, townhomes being built next door. I already mentioned fencing, but again, that is going up right now. The whole west side and all the way down to the back and around to the back of our campus has the fencing up, and it looks great. So that is going in. All right, the big thing is that we've been saving for a couple of years, and now we are going to finally replace the flooring in the gym. That begins on the 15th of April. We had a window that we had to respond in. If we don't put it in now, we could be months and months and months out, which we can't do because of volleyball, basketball, and all of the things that go on in the gym. We're going to send some more information probably through your principals, teachers, and weekly emails, but if you have a middle school or high school student, it's really going to affect them more than it will our elementary students. We would just encourage you to maybe send them with backpacks and not things that roll, and limit, if possible, the number of heavy items that they bring on campus if you can, because they're going to need to be taking their backpacks and everything into their classrooms. And then we are going to be dismissing from the classrooms, which is we don't normally do. So we're just going to ask you to be patient with us as we come up with a new dismissal system through the end of the school year. Usually from start to finish, this is about 8 weeks because the wood has to cure inside of the gym, then it has to cure once it gets on the floor, then it has to cure once it's been painted. Bleachers are coming out. Basketball goals are coming out, everything's coming out, floors going in, and then everything kind of has to be redone once that begins. So just a note to hang in there and be patient with us. This is a really good thing. We're really excited about it. It's about time that we got a new floor in there. That's going to service everyone. Everyone uses that gym. And then finally, a reminder to, if you haven't already, sign up for Hineni. That is going to be a couple of Saturdays from now on the 27th. We are really excited about it. We've got about 300 people signed up. I'm going to go out into the community and try to be the hands and feet in Jesus and serve our community in the best ways that we can. I'm really excited about it. I'm thankful to Gina, Alyssa Bosel, and Coach O as they're really working to set this up. So excited about being able to do that. Okay, thank you so much for taking the time to listen. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to email us if we missed something or if I made something more unclear rather than clearer. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you so much for your feedback. We really value it and appreciate it. We want you to know that we're grateful that you care enough to let us know what you're concerned about. And then we just pray and are praying for you to have a great remainder of the school year and a blessed summer. Thank you so much.